You know how some carriers give you so little for your older busted phone you just end up living with it? I don't think so. Verizon lets you trade in your broken phone for a shiny new one. You break it, We upgraded.
You dunk it, doggy bone it.
Slam it, wham it, strawberry jam it. We upgraded.
Get a 5G phone on us with select plans.
Every customer, current, new, or business.
Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
All right, folks, today is Monday, January 3rd, 2022, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Senator Chuck Schumer makes it clear that it is time to carve out a voting rights exception with the filibuster. He said by January 17th, they are going to move to make that happen. And we'll discuss with our panel also on today's show. OWN has a new series, a documentary talking about the issue of Black women and infertility. We'll talk with the director of the documentary, Eggs Over Easy, plus actress Keshia Knight Pulliam, who's involved with it as well. She's one of the executive producers. Also, a new poll suggests the approval rating of Vice President Kamala Harris is up. But folks are not talking about that. But they always talk about when her numbers were down. A white woman in Louisiana was a judge, using the N-word. She's resigned. Shed a tear. No. Also, folks, Donald Trump's kids are refusing to cooperate with the civil investigation from the New York Attorney General. What's going to happen next in that case? Also, 2 new Black mayors in New York City and Atlanta. They have now taken over. Plus, Virginia Attorney General is suing a town for its racist practices. We'll tell you all about that. Plus, we lost some jewels. They've gone from elders to ancestors. We'll tell you about Max Julian, plus the last living parent of the 4 girls who were murdered in the Birmingham bombing. Folks, it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
January 17th, that is the day that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says a vote is going to be held in order to do a filibuster carve out for voting rights. Today, he sent a letter to the United States Senate making perfectly clear exactly what he wants to see happen in the U.S. Senate. This is a copy of that letter where he laid out in stark terms exactly what is happening in terms of dealing with democracy in America. This is what he said: as we approach the anniversary of the January 6th attack on our Capitol and our democracy, I'm writing to follow up on my last dear colleague before Christmas, specifically to outline next steps on urgently needed voting rights legislation. He makes clear that democracy held as a result of what happened on January 6th. But as he said, make no mistake about it, this week, Senate Democrats will make clear that what happened on January 6th and the one-sided partisan actions being taken by Republican-led legislatures across the country are directly linked, and we can and must take strong action to stop this anti-democratic march, specifically as we honor the brave Capitol police officers who defended us from those motivated by the big lie who tried to undo a fair and free election. Senate Democrats will continue to make the case for passing voting rights legislation to counter the Republican voter suppression and election nullification laws with the same anti-democratic motives born out of the big lie. Let's go to my panel who joins us right now. I want to bring all of them up. Dr. Avis Jones-Weaver, political analyst at the Omakongo Dibinga Professorial Lecture, School of International Service, American University. Reverend Jeff Carr, founder of the Infinity Fellowship in Nashville. Glad to have all of you. I want to go to you, Avis. Finally, some action we're seeing from Senator Schumer. He understands that the pressure has been there. And for all of those people who said, oh, that it's performative, if you will, the protests, that have been going on. You've got the hunger strike of Joe Madison. You've got again, what Black Lives Matter have been doing, Poor People's Campaign, seeing the CBC chair being arrested, Joyce Beatty. No, that's the kind of stuff that was needed to put the pressure on Schumer to do this very thing.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is that voting, while important, is not enough. As I often say, voting is the starting gun to political action. It's not the finish line. And those things that you just detailed are other examples of ways that all of us can get involved to move legislation through that we know is absolutely needed. Now, my challenge is to Schumer. You know, I want it to be more than a letter. I'm hoping that that letter isn't performative. And here's why I say that. I don't have a great deal of confidence in his leadership, period, point blank, period. If Harry Reid was the majority leader, we'd already have this, okay? I just don't trust his leadership ability. So more than a letter, I want to feel confident that he's having the right discussions behind the scenes with those that have in the past stood in the way. Until we actually get it across the finish line, which evidence that he's done what he needs to do behind the closed doors so that he can exert the pressure that needs to be exerted to pull all the Democrats in line, that's when I'll celebrate. That's the part of this equation that I'm scared might be performative, but we'll see what happens when he brings it up to the floor.
Well, the problem here on Congo is real simple, and that is you have two senators who are on the record as saying they are not going to support a carve-out of ending the filibuster for voting rights, and that is Senator Kristen Sinema of Arizona and Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. I've seen nothing to indicate they've changed their mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with what Dr. Avis was saying. And the reason why this vote needs to happen is because they need to be put on record and they need to be put on blast, because all of these guys talk a good game. We just saw this with Build Back Better when people thought that that was going to be on board and that was going to pass. And then, of course, we saw what Senator Manchin did. And to be quite honest, I don't trust any of these guys to do, well, I'm not going to say that. Most Democrats we know are on board with this seriously, especially after the NAACP called out about 13 of them and they had to go on record and say that they were in agreement with this. But we need to make sure maybe what Schumer's intention is right now is that he wants people to continue to put pressure on Sinema and Manchin to make sure that when this stuff comes up for a vote, that they are hearing from everybody. So that might be his intentions. Again, I agree with Dr. Avis. This should be instantaneous. There shouldn't be any more talk, but we cannot stop. We cannot have the mentality that just because he wrote this letter, that all of a sudden it's going to be taken care of. Because we know that the Republicans, they're not stopping. They're ramping up their efforts to make sure maybe get more contributions to Manchin, get more contributions to Sinema. Maybe some of these corporate entities, the American Expresses and the AT&Ts are giving up some more of their money as well, like they've done with Manchin and others. And so we cannot stop right now. It's not like Joe Madison's going to start eating tonight based off of a letter. We got to make sure that we get this done. And so the pressure cannot stop. If anything, it needs to intensify.
And of course, Jeff, what you're dealing with here in terms of Schumer, he also knows that massive protests are being planned around MLK Day, and he understands that it's going to be happening on that particular day. And the reality is, this is why the pressure cannot stop. And frankly, you can't just be so locked in, even in backroom dealings. Again, unless you move Sinema and Manchin, it's going to be a vote on that day that look, Lisa Murkowski has said that she supports a carve out, and so fine, you're going to have all Republicans except one voting against it. You're going to have likely all Democrats except two voting for it, and it still won't get changed. You're on mute, Jeff.
Sorry about that. Thanks.
There
I'm
you
here.
go.
Great. Exceptional to be here with everybody. Happy New Year. I'm speaking progress and purpose in your lives as well as into the life of the Democratic Party. It's what's needed right now. It's as Dr. Avis pointed out so well, and as Brother Dr. Omekongo said, it's very clear that we've been to this place before. Chuck Schumer is looking at a daunting task here. You've got to get at least all 50 of the Democrats lined up who are ready to go and make this happen so that we can have a simple majority to pass some of this legislation. The question is, how committed are the Democrats going to be? And how committed are the people going to continue to be to keep this pressure on? All of the groups that you mentioned have done an enormous job of putting this in the national spotlight. But when you talk about making change, it's about commitment. Sort of like being in the red zone in a football game. That comes down to who wants it the most. And this is going to come down to whether Chuck Schumer can actually deliver, because that letter still constitutes theory. And a proven practice always outweighs a brilliant theory. We've got to see some delivery on that. I think about getting around the filibuster, and I think about landmark moments in the filibuster. You go back to the passing of the landmark 64 Civil Rights Act. You got to take it back to 1957 when you had committed, diehard people like Strom Thurmond, who still holds the record, I believe, for a filibuster to this day at 24 hours and 18 minutes. Who was willing to go all in for what he believed in terms of blocking our rights. So we have to now see that the Democratic Party is going to go all in and deliver something tangible that they've been promising for a long time.
You know, but the thing here that we have to understand is that look, elections do have consequences, and you've got Republicans who are sort of making all of their threats, things along those lines. I saw a tweet earlier from conservative Eric Erickson saying, we can certainly, Democrats, they get rid of the filibuster, we can pass all of these different things as well. And one of the things that I said is, and you can get them vetoed.
Right.
And I did reply to say, Eric, matter of fact, let me just do this here. I want to blow this up. Hold on one second. I wasn't going to show this tweet, but let me go ahead and show it. Give me just 1 second here. And this is the thing why people can't be afraid, because look, you gotta do what you gotta do. You always hear election of consequences. This was the tweet that he sent out. National constitutional carry, fetal heartbeat law, major tax reform, easier access to suppressors, gutting Obamacare, killing the CFPB. The GOP can do a lot of things too without the filibuster. And I said, yeah, but guess what? Those damn things can get vetoed. And the reality is you need 2/3 to overcome a veto, Avis. And so have at it. Even if Republicans take over the House and the Senate next year, they can pass all of these things, Avis. And all Joe Biden has to do is veto the damn things, and they won't go anywhere. But the bottom line is this here. On the Democratic side, if you don't pass voting legislation, you got to sit here and get your ass mollywopped, because they are setting this thing up to guarantee victories for the next decade.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing. And I'm laughing at that tweet, because included that laundry list of stuff that you're exactly right would get vetoed in like 2.9 seconds is this idea of gutting Obamacare. When they had the presidency, they couldn't do that. So shut the hell up. You ain't fooling nobody. But this is exactly why you're right. We have the power. We won. We need to act like it, because the Republicans know how to bluster. They know how to talk a good game. Mm-hmm. The reality is that when they are in power, they do whatever the hell they want, right? And then when the Democrats are in power, they try to threaten them. Well, if you do that, we're going to do this. Guess what? They're going to do whatever they want to do when they do have control of every realm of power that they can. And with this particular issue right now, as you've mentioned, with what's happened all over this nation, this is do or die, period. Not only for today, not only for tomorrow, but literally for generations.
And also, let me remind people, Omakongo, that it was Senator Mitch McConnell who ignored the filibuster and put 2 Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court, lifetime appointments, without a 60-vote threshold.
That's right. And that's
so they made an exception and did it 9 days before the election.
Surely.
Yep. after saying that Merrick Garland's election nomination was going to happen too close to an election. They're full of lies, not to mention all of the carve-outs that they've done for the budget, which over 150 times or something to that extent. Look, this is what they do. When they're in power, they do whatever they want. So we got Eric Erickson's tweet there, but they've always been acting as if the filibuster meant nothing to them when it means controlling their own agenda. And let's be mindful of the fact that all of these hundreds of bills that are being passed across these states are happening in these state senators that don't have a filibuster, and they're being passed by a simple majority. If it's good for the state level, it's good for the federal level. So look, really at the end of the day, these Democrats need to get online. Mitch McConnell and these Republicans, Romney, all of these guys, I mean, look, they are just full of garbage, and they will do anything to protect power, and they are simply making it easier for Trump to come back into office. Nothing Senator McConnell says needs to be paid attention to by anybody who says, oh, when they get in power, they're just going to do the same thing. Like you said, Roland, they've already been doing it. And the hypocrisy is glaring. And every single day they say, well, wait till we get it back in power. We saw what you did when you were in power, so we don't got to wait for it to happen later. You have clearly shown that you only care about the filibuster when it works, when you're not in full power. And that's when we have to call them on their bluff and move forward. They do not care. They have no concerns, no fear about breaking any institution. And look, the filibuster is not in the Constitution. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that it's broken. Schumer needs to move expeditiously on this so we can make sure our voting rights are secure before we lose it all, like you said, for a decade or more.
Then, Jeff, you got idiots like Sean Spicer, who is former White House spokesman for Donald Trump, who was fired because he didn't know how to wear properly fitted suits. And he wasn't lying enough. And so this is what this right here is what Sean Spicer had to say today on Twitter. He said, reminder, despite lies by left-wing media types like Ryan Lizza, the right to vote in America is not under attack. Every American can vote in person or absentee every vote. Then I tweeted, I said, well, Sean, why are you so scared to have people who believe in voter suppression on your show? I said, you don't have the guts to actually put them on your show. I said, so that's really part of your problem. So I said, because you don't want your Newsmax audience to actually know what the truth is, Sean, and he won't do it. And you're not going to see people on Newsmax who can counter the lie from him, because that's the lie they want to keep promoting. We know what these bills do. We know how they make it harder to vote. Man, they don't want the truth to actually be known. And these laws being changed also negatively impact white people. This is not just a black thing. We know how they impact Native Americans in critical states, Latinos, African Americans, but they also impact young, white, progressive voters as well.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we've got to now contextualize the issue for the long game. We've been thinking about the short game and getting an administration in place and getting 4 years here or a 2-year term in the Congress in place, but we're not thinking long term. And I say we, imaginatively with the Democratic Party saying, how can we look at where we're going to be in 20 years? Because I tell you what, the Republican Party has done it. They have been doing it. They have been working on state legislatures over the last 20 years, securing the right to gerrymander, changing districts, voter suppression is hot and high. And this space here is where this is ground zero for the battle. And it's a comprehensive battle. I say that because a lot of the creative space that we burn up here is burnt on rebutting people, shaming people, and pointing out the hypocrisy of people, as we should, who will not listen to rebuttals, who have absolutely no shame, and who don't care that they're hypocritical. So they get criticism and they don't care because they're laser focused. You got a cat like Mitch McConnell. Oh, he's an awesome example of an old antebellum gentleman that sat on the front porch and picked his teeth while people were out there in the fields working all day. He looks people squarely in the eye. He told the whole world, I am 100% focused on stopping Joe Biden's administration. He told us exactly what the agenda is. The question is, it goes back to what both Dr. Avis and Brother Dr. Omitongo just said. we've got to really now step it up, because lies are the dominant order of the day, and the Republican Party doesn't care, because they are operating with the philosophy that if you lie enough consistently, people will believe them, and people who are supporting the Republican Party and their current agenda to not only block things that will help people in general, even themselves, when you talk about poor and rural whites, when you're talking about that philosophy, you've got to continue to lay on the work that are being done by grassroots organizations, and most importantly, the hierarchy of the party, because something's going to have to change if we're going to combat people who have no shame, who have no guilt, but who are also laser focused on message with one goal and one agenda, and that is to dominate and suppress everybody else.
See, the thing that I don't understand is, and again, it's called Civics 101. There are three branches of government, okay? You have federal, executive, and judicial. Now, what Eric Erickson said, Republicans, oh yeah, you get rid of filibuster, we're going to do this. Okay, well, here's what we know. They changed the rules to get two hardcore conservatives on the Supreme Court, stole one of the seats from President Barack Obama, who frankly was not aggressive enough. He should have appointed a black woman to the seat and really set up a protagonist-antagonist thing here by having all these old white men say no to the first black woman ever appointed to the Supreme Court. But I digress. But here's the whole deal here. As I said earlier, okay, Republicans, y'all can take control of the House and the Senate. We got the White House. So if you Democrats, you focus on controlling one of the three. You either control the House, the Senate, or the White House. And guess what? Whatever they do doesn't matter. They can have a Republican president, a Republican House, but if you control the Senate, no bills get passed. Look what happened when Democrats control the House. What, 300-400 bills got passed? Mitch McConnell said, I'm not bringing up any of those. And so I don't understand what the fear is. And so, yes, is it possible? Is it possible the Republicans could have all three branches, the House, they can have the House and the Senate, the White House, and also if you do that, you do control the federal bench with your appointments. But that's why elections matter. That's why you get your ass out there and you motivate your base and you hit the ground. That's why you spend the resources. But I'm sorry, I come from, and I'm straight up about power. I'm about power. Either you use the power or you don't. I remember watching the movie Ford versus Ferrari, and this guy came into the garage and he was complaining about his sports car. And the Christian Bale, who played, I forgot the driver who he played, but he said the problem with your car ain't the car, is you. You, in order for your sports car to work, you got to drive it like a sports car. He said it ain't a Buick. And so the point is, ask anybody who owns a Ferrari or a Dodge Viper or whatever, it can't sit in the garage and you not drive it and rev the engines. Democrats, learn to rev the engines. That's the point I'm saying. When you got power, you use power. Because when you don't have power, it's guaranteed you can't use it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yes, sir. One of the things that you pointed out, Roland, if I can jump in here, you used a movie about racing. The great Mario Andretti, who is probably considered one of the greatest racers of all time, said something that I always remember. He said, anytime you reach a point where you say everything is under control, you're not going fast enough. So when we get these letters from Schumer and we say, hey, we're going to get this, it's going to work out, we got this, we're going to do that. That to me sounds like, oh, we got this under control, but we're not moving, and we're not moving fast enough. We're not only not moving and revving the engines, but we're not getting in the race and gunning it to the floor. Anytime you run into that wonderful nexus where you have the House, you have the Senate, and balance in the Senate and the administration, I guarantee you, if the shoe were on the other foot, there would be so much legislation rammed through in a small amount of time that there would be nearly a revolution the next time there was a midterm election. So That's what happens when you have control. And if we have truly good legislation that we know is going to benefit people, and we know we have an opportunity to push it through, you've got to actually make that rubber meet that road right now.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. Gotta go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about the increasing approval numbers of Vice President Kamala Harris. What happened to all of those stories? How awful she was, Politico, where you're now stories saying her numbers are up. We'll discuss that. Also, that white judge in Louisiana caught on video using the N-word. And remember, she said she took a pill and just calls her to just say the N-word. I don't know. I was. Sorry, folks. All right, looks like I was muted there. We good? Let's go to break. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
My name is Latoya Luckett.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you watching
Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. There's one of the huge issue that often does not get talked about, and that is what is happening with Black women and infertility. We've often talked about the issue of fibroids on this show, but this is also one of the issues that's going to be addressed in an upcoming documentary by OWN. It is called Eggs Over Easy. This is we're dealing with the questions of infertility among African American women, and it's not just infertility, as I said, fibroids, but also we've talked about the difficulty that Black women have had even when having children. So joining us right now is the executive producer and director of the documentary, Shaquita Lockley, also Keshia Knight, and narrator of Eggs Over Easy, and also the founder of the detoxnow.com, Coach Jesse Thompson. Glad to have all three of you here. This is something that Jesse, we've had you on before talking about this, that doesn't get lots of play. Recently, Vice President Kamala Harris had a White House conference dealing with the issue of mortality, Black mortality. Again, it's amazing how all these pro-life folks are real quiet when it comes to the health of Black women.
It's the White House Day of Action really was monumental. And, you know, when it comes to this story, I thank you again, Roland, because you always create this platform for us. From my very first time having this story, sharing my story of infertility with you, to the miracle babies that came along the way. If we didn't have someone like you to help us share the story, it would be muted. But I am so happy that because the revolution that Dr. Carr talked about is happening because of us amongst in our communities, and people like Shaquita and people like Keshia Knight Pulliam and others who really centered this conversation. And you know, shout out to Shaquita, who's been working on this documentary for a long time and who did not give up on making sure that these stories were amplified, because it's not enough for us to have these conversations in silos. It needs to be centered on a national platform, and also for us to be educated about those things that are available to us, whether it be integrative, whether it be IVF, whether it be holistic, you know, whether it be support and therapy, as well as egg freezing, all the resources that we need to actually have healthy miracle babies and not be in the situation where the mortality and morbidity crisis is at the alarming rates it's at right now.
Shaquita, there were folks who were on social media mocking the title of this documentary.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so why was his name chosen?
So if you, in our culture, we often say, if a woman is older, her eggs are boiled eggs or scrambled eggs. And I happen to be, well, it's twofold. So I happened to be watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and one of the cast members.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No hate on the city.
You will never see a housewife.
No hating, no shame.
It's been a while.
Go ahead.
But swung that out, and I was like viscerally affected. Because how are you going to tell this woman, oh, you have scrambled eggs because you're old? And I think she was like maybe 40. And so that kind of stuck in the back of my head. Like, why is this such a tough conversation? Why do you always have to say, oh, if you're over 35, something is wrong? So there was that. And then there was my own personal situation, going to my gynecologist, and I go every year for an annual. And she finally says, hey, you're turning 42. Your eggs are turning 42. What do you want to do with them? And so that just made me like spiral and try to figure out, what is she even talking about? Or do what with them? Do I have any? Because I am 42. And so I just kind of thought, okay, how do we make this an easier conversation? If everybody's talking about it, it won't be such a hard topic anymore. And so in sitting with it, that's what I felt God gave to me, Eggs Over Easy. And it's picked up traction. It's doing pretty well. So I did see commentary on Twitter. But, you know, if people don't want to give the film a shot and actually look at it and take the lessons from it, and make sure, if you are Gen X and you know your season may or may not have passed, or it's not something you're interested in, tell your little sisters, tell your mentees, because nobody is telling us about AMH, anti-malarial hormone, which lets you know, well, it's one of the indicators of whether or not you even have an egg reserve. Nobody's talking about that. So maybe instead of spending so much time and energy on the title, watch it and then take notes, because I've done the research, so you don't have to go do the research on your little Twitter, and then pass along these lessons so that the people who are coming behind us don't have to wake up at 30 or wake up at 40 trying to figure out a procedure that's the cost of a car, when most of our parents can't help us pay for this. So we need a better plan. Felicia Fant is one of the executive producers on the documentary, and she says, plan for your body the way you plan for your career. So I went to Spelman, Keshia went to Spelman. That's a women's college. It's the #1 HBCU, by the way. So if we aren't talking about it, if we don't know these answers, then most people probably aren't talking about it, and most people probably don't know these answers. So what I hope to do with the film, and what our intention is, even with the title, is to spark that conversation and make sure that your 25-year-old niece doesn't have to deal with what our generation kind of had to deal with. And thank you for having this conversation.
I am as often I often wear different HBCU attire. I'm wearing St. Augustine's University hoodie today, so they might disagree with your assessment of #1 HBCU. Keshia, let me go to you. Why was it important? Why did you want to be involved in this project?
You know, it was really important to me for a variety of reasons. The funny thing is that we started this so long ago, right after my daughter Ella was born. So she was born and she's almost 5. And really, it started out as just me supporting someone that I love, Shaquita and Felicia. But what I knew was that this was a really important story to be told, because we don't have this authentic, transparent conversation around all things that have to do with our reproductive system, whether it's if you want to have a baby, if you don't want to have a baby, you know, what your fertility looks like, have you had miscarriages along the way? Like, these are such subjects that come with so much misinformation and so much shame, that one of the things that are really important to me in what I do is ensuring that I use my platform to for good, use my platform to put information out there specifically for Black women, because I am a Black woman and I am a mother to a little girl who will be a Black woman. So it was a no-brainer when, you know, Shaquita first approached me about this. I was like, okay, Spesh. So outside of having gone to Spelman, we're both Delta. She's my Spesh. So, you know, I had a little bit of obligation because she was like, Spesh, I need something. I was like, what do you need? Okay, is how it started. But she knows that there's nothing that I wouldn't do for her. And it was my honor to not only narrate this film, but also become an executive producer and even share my story. You know, like Shaquita and everyone has already said, we're taught about our career. We're taught about, you know, it's kind of crazy. You spend your first half for your life trying not to get pregnant, and then the second half trying to, and never does it occur to you that it may not happen as easily as you think it will. So it was important for me to also share my journey and, you know, where I stand, because the other piece is you can be in a place in your career where you say, you know what, I know I want children, but I know I don't want them today. So what does that look like? And I think the biggest thing is making sure that women feel empowered, that whatever your decision is, whether it's to have children, to not have children, to wait, to freeze your eggs, whatever that looks like, you know, it's your uterus and your choice. And recently I posted something, because especially in my position, people always want to have assumptions about what's going on in your body. And I just had to tell people, like, just back up off my uterus. It's really that simple. Your uterus is no one else's business.
Now I want to go to questions from my panel. First off, Avis, what you got?
Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for developing this documentary and really bringing this much needed topic out into the light. My question for you is, you know, what are some of the things that you have found? I know for me specifically, the statistics around maternal mortality as it relates to Black women are absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this issue of infertility, do we see a similar level of disparity between Black women and having to struggle with the issue of fertility as compared to other women, and particularly white women? For example, are we much more likely to struggle with this? Or is the issue that we're much less likely to be able to move forward with the actions that are necessary in order to possibly overcome it?
Well, I want to start with something. I think it's twofold. I think that a lot of it is the access, the resources, and the knowledge around the subject. And that's really what we're trying to shed light on, because yes, there'll be a disparity specifically if the information isn't disseminated to all people. If we aren't receiving the information to make the informed choices, then decisions are made for us. You know, when we could have had something different to do and a different input, but we didn't know how. So I'll let, you know, Shaquita chime in with the statistic piece of it. But I think that, you know, that disparity is paramount.
Yeah, thank you, Keshia. So if we're just looking at numbers, Black women and Black people in general, you know that we have medical disparities. If you look at 243%, which is the maternal mortality rate, like we're dying about 3 times more often than a white woman. If you look at the cost of having to pay for IVF, even if you have a great job, if we're making 61 to 62 cents on the dollar of a white man, then is it really apples and apples? No, it's not. It's apples and oranges, because we're not even at the playing field to even have the money to go and have these procedures done. So it's both. It's definitely in terms of IVF and how we even find information. Do you have a doctor who looks like you? Do you have a doctor who is listening to you? So we have a segment of the film where we just talk about doctors not listening to Black women. We could probably do a Google search and get millions of hits. I talk about Serena Williams because she is like famous with a huge audience, and it didn't matter. And none of that mattered because her skin was Black and the doctor still didn't listen to her. So yes, to your question.
Yeah.
Jeff, your question.
Well, I was going to say, if I could chime in real quick on that.
Go ahead.
Another thing is that Black women are disproportionately affected by fibroids, as you know, and fibroids is actually a leading cause of, if not sometimes the cause of actual infertility, as it was in my case. So now you have, let's add that layer. All right. So we're disproportionately affected by fibroids. We get them in more number, we get them in larger size, more symptomatic, and that now makes a layer of complexity with respect to the infertility equation that now, yes, we're disproportionately affected by that. So now we're even more affected by fertility and infertility, if I could add that. And because of that, because they're, again, we're thrown. So let's add now the hysterectomy piece, because most women Black women are the #1 recipients of hysterectomies. Okay. So now we're getting being made infertile by virtue of the fact that that is the #1 way of dealing with the issue, which, you know, that is why we advocate and we educate over and over, and we help women every day to look at what are their options, what are their integrative options, holistically, diet, stress, you know, management, as well as surgeries, whatever it is that they need together in order to heal these issues. So they're dealing with them at the root if they want to have children as well.
Jeff?
Sure. First, I want to thank you all of you sisters, for the work that you're doing out there. Jesse, for the work that you're doing with Detox Now. Keshia, for lending your voice to this project. And of course, Shaquita, for being bold enough to step out there and deal with a real issue. I can say personally, there's no more humbling experience than actually seeing birth and being there. And I've been blessed to be in a room with my wife and the midwives, and just to see that first burst of life, and to recognize that one thing that we all have in common, no matter what our politics are, no matter where we come from, we come and we have emerged into this world, into these earth suits that we're wearing through the womb of a woman. So there's so much respect that I have there. I also have respect for women who don't call it quits. So when I'm counseling young women and they say, hey, I'm 25, my life is over, I remind them that my own parents met late in life. My mother met my father in her mid-30s. My brother was born when she was 37 years old. She was 39 years old when she had me, and she was a week shy of her 44th birthday when my sister was born. So my question to you all, and the great work that you're doing, is how can we as a community continue to provide hope for women out there who are looking to have children in any possible means? And how can we provide hope for them? And how can we provide support for them so that we can continue to pass things on generationally?
I mean, we're doing it right now. We're doing it right now. We're having these conversations, and there are so many women who are watching, and they're feeling like I'm not alone. They're feeling like, okay, I have options, I have resources. There are people who are hearing me, who are listening. So I feel like what we're doing now is really important, and paying it forward and sharing this information, making sure, you know, that when we fought to have this story told, and it's coming on OWN tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, you know, Pacific time, that we show up, you know, that we support, that we tell a friend, hey, you know, let's watch this, let's support this, because what we also know in this business is that it is a business, and it's about what is successful. So if we want to continue to have these stories told, then we have to support them. So that's what I would say. You know, share this information, and you have to just make sure that you share your stories too as women, because it's easy to only want to share your highlight reel, but the truth is in the journey. The truth is in everything that it took you to get there. And that's also where growth and inspiration happen as well. So make sure that you are bold enough to share your journey, not just, you know, with your closest girlfriends, but with all women who could help and who could benefit and be empowered by what you share.
Omakongo, your question.
Well, first of all, I want to commend all three of you for the incredible work that you're doing. It's truly amazing. And my question really is, as Black men, what can we do we talked about, doctors and people who aren't listening, and we understand that narrative as it relates to the larger community. But in our daily lives, what can we do as Black women as Black men to support our sisters throughout this experience from beginning to wherever it may take them?
If I could jump in here, I love that you asked that question, Doctor. As a woman who battled infertility for 10 years, the number one thing, my husband was with me on the journey. And that meant that he was not pushing an agenda. If he said, what's the next decision? As we went from one IVF cycle to another, right? It was, if this is too much on your body, I want this to be, if it's only what you want to do. This is your decision. I'm here to support you. And as I coach women literally all over, I would love to show this testimony wall that we have, if we have it up. But the other thing I see in the support that we have is that when women go on these journeys, whether it's holistic or intervention or whatever, that you go on it with them, my brother. Okay. So it's everything from, we have a sister who she couldn't conceive for 12 years, right? And she was really, in fact, the first place we announced this was on your show, Roland. Oh my God, I got goosebumps. And she and her husband were like, look, we're not giving up. We're not giving up. They actually did our detox, our balance program together. And within a month, 2 months, it was a month and a half, they actually conceived. And now they have 2 miracle babies. Why? Because he did it he didn't say, oh, I'm gonna be over here cheering you on. He got into the trenches and he did it with her. And the other thing is, be fiercely protective of your spouse, your woman, where you see other people minding their uterus. I'm plugging you, Shaquita. Your line, Eggs Over Easy, has a merch line. It says, mind your uterus. And you see whether it's, your family brothers are usually the ones that are in our sisters' businesses saying, when you gonna have children? When you gonna have this? You know what? You need to sometimes step in there and say, you know what? This is a very deeply personal, intimate issue. And I really want you to give us some space on this, because these are things that are causing anxiety. They're causing stress. They're causing inflammatory responses in our bodies, causing the very thing that actually will throw off our balance when we're trying, meaning our hormonal balance, when we're trying to conceive. It makes it worse. So be the fierce protector, right? Get in there and actually do it with her. And of course, support.
Well, I'll say this here. Look, I feel you on the stress stuff like that, but sometimes you got to cuss some people out.
Mind your business.
I ain't got a problem. I know, because it was like shortly after Jack and I got married, this one woman kept pressing her about, and I was like, look, we good. I was like, we good. And she was like being all nice about it. And again, I mean, like, we're trying to sit here and be cool, and homegirl kept pressing, and I was like, okay, she need to mind her own damn business. So just so y'all know, we were not actually in the sanctuary. We were actually in the foyer. And so she kept pressing. She kept pressing. Finally, I was like, yo. And I was like, hey, we fucking, you straight? Homegirl was like, I was like, stop asking them damn questions.
Hey.
She ain't asked that question again.
And that's that.
Last time she asked that question. Yeah, I like, God know I'm gonna cuss somebody out. So I don't know why we like faking the fun. Yes, that's exactly what I did at the Church Without Walls. I didn't care.
Sir.
That woman is watching, damn well I was serious when I told you that too. All right, Eggs Over Easy on 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I appreciate it, Shaquita, Jesse, and Keshia. Thanks a lot. Good seeing all y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Folks.
Take care.
That's right. Cuss folks out at church if you need to.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll be back. Some breaking news about Congressman Bobby Rush, who is, we'll tell you about him when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Amber Stevens West.
Yo, what up, y'all? This is Jay Ellis, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Some breaking news. Congressman Bobby Rush out of Chicago has announced that he is stepping down from Congress after his term is completed. He joins a number of other Democrats who have announced that they are not going to be seeking re-election. He has had some health issues over the last several years. And so this is certainly going to set off a firestorm of people who are seeking his position. You might remember this. This was after the death of Trayvon Martin when Congressman Rush ticked off. Keenan, go ahead and take that audio. When he ticked off the house when he wore a hoodie on the floor.
Walk humbly with your God. And in the New Testament, Luke 4:18-20 teaches us these words. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and the recovery of sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free. I urge all who hear these words to heed these lessons. May God bless Trayvon Martin's soul, his family.
The member is no longer recognized. The chair will ask the Sergeant at Arms to enforce the prohibition on decorum.
Of course, Rush is also, he is the only person, Omakongo, who has ever beaten President Barack Obama in any election.
Yes, indeed. And throughout it all, somebody who's been unwavering in his dedication to our community. And, you know, this is somebody who is time well served, right? I mean, for so long, he has been a voice in our community, whether it's through the political world or, you know, out in the community organizer space. And really, quite honestly, we're seeing so much integrity not being demonstrated right now by our political leaders. And some of these guys who are retiring, I can't wait for them to be gone. But when you look at somebody like him, we have to remember that really at the end of the day, to do something like that, you know, out of respect to Trayvon Martin and his family and to call attention to this, something that he's done his entire career. And we need that type of integrity now more than ever, because we're still being assaulted, we're still being killed, we're still being slaughtered in the streets. And no matter what people try to draw attention to, or in terms of diverting the attention to something else and saying it's not that important, he stood there in front of everybody and made that point, and has done it on multiple occasions. So I want to commend the brother for everything that he's done to be a role model in our community. And again, it's time well served, and I hope that his integrity continues to live on in others who have come after him.
And don't forget, Jeff, this is a former member of the Black Panther Party who later became a member of Congress.
Sure. In the 1960s, he was the founder of the Illinois Panther Party. So he's put in the time, he's put in the work. It's great to hear him in that clip that you showed, because it shows that eventually you reach an age where you just don't give a crap anymore. You just don't care. You're ready to say what's on your mind. You're not going to let anybody stop you. Bobby Rush has been a very popular congressman representing that first district of Illinois. And if you look at the last 4 elections he's had to go through, his average margin of victory was 73%. So it tells you how popular he is. I think at 75 years old, there's only so much that we can expect. And one of those things that we can expect is that people can bow out gracefully, that they can become elder statesmen, and that they get to enjoy a little bit of life on this end of this side. We expect people to work until they can't work anymore. That's an old Western mindset. I really think that he has achieved that status of esteemed elder. I think now it comes down to how can we best live his legacy by supporting people who are going to get in there and fight like he fought.
Avis.
You know, I completely agree. I just want to carry on that last point about, you know, he deserves to be able to now enjoy the rest of his life and not deal with the foolishness that's going on right now in Congress. Let's just be real about that. But also it is, I think it's a great example to show the sort of the changing of the guard, the passing along of the baton. I'm very proud of him having this leadership throughout his career as a community activist as an elected official, but also leading by example here of not being pushed out because of scandal, not, just staying there just to hold the seat forever, but making the affirmative choice that now I'm going to move on. I'm going to live the rest of my life, and someone else is going to have the opportunity to represent my district. I think that's an example that more elected officials, quite frankly, need to take to heart.
Just to remind folks, Congressman Bobby Rush is an ordained minister. He said it's going to continue his ministry work, and this marks when his term is up, it will mark 30 years in Congress. He was first elected in 1992. Wow. He's 75 years old, and so he is stepping down. And so certainly good luck to him. All right, folks, let's talk about this latest poll from Reuters Ipsos, showing that the approval rating for Vice President Kamala Harris is at 51%. It's kind of interesting, Avis, because we've been dealing with all year. Oh my God, how awful she is! Her numbers are the worst for vice president in history. But something else also, I think, has happened over the past few weeks. You have seen the White House and the vice president's communications team be a lot more aggressive in getting her out there, showing her the things that she's been involved with. She's done far more interviews as of late. I wish they do those interviews with Black-owned media. Trust me, the White House is going to be getting, her staff is going to be getting an email from me when the show is over. But I mean, this is what they should have been doing. She's been doing the work, but you can do the work and nobody know, or you can be doing the work and tell folks what work you're doing.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, honestly, it is a problem. This is yet another one of those, problems that seems to be built into the DNA of much of the people in the Democratic Party. Very focused on policy, very focused on the intricacies and the nuances of getting things through. They're very enamored with the policy process, but they don't put a lot of emphasis and forethought into, quite frankly, the public relations that's necessary to let the people know what they're doing. And then when you juxtapose that against the fact that she is a path breaker here, that she is the first woman, that she is a Black woman doing this job that is going to get unfair criticism regardless, you need to be especially strategic and aggressive with those PR efforts, just to let people know what you're doing and to fight back against the false narratives that get all the attention. So it's good to see that she is, in fact, moving up in those approval ratings. And I hope they see the connection between getting her out there more and those approval ratings going up, so that they do even more of those things that we see are working.
But the thing is also, here's a poll here that's just strange on Congo. When you look at it, the poll was taken December 13th through the 17th. And here's what's crazy. More than half of Americans, 56%, believe the national economy and the country generally is headed in the wrong direction. But the numbers don't support that when you look at what's going on. Republicans, now that's driven because 81% Republicans think that. 59% of independents think that. But I'm sorry, if you look at the economic numbers, you look at the job numbers, you look at GDP, you look at all of those different things, they are going positive. That's called you're not selling yourself properly. You're not telling your story. You're not controlling your narrative. You are allowing the notion of dysfunction to drive the narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to be clear, like you said, all these economic indicators, Biden has surpassed Trump at every juncture for this time during their presidencies. And yet you have people like retiring Pat Toomey saying that, under Trump, we had the best economic time of my adulthood or whatever. They keep making up these lies and these stories, but that's because Trump was out there every single day talking about how it's the best economy ever. No one's ever seen anything like this. And Biden doesn't do enough bragging. He can't just get out there and just completely pat himself on the back like there's no problems, because of course there are. But he needs to point out these numbers. And Vice President Harris, who's a better communicator than President Biden is, needs to get out there and do the same thing. Look, the fact of the matter is, Roland, I'm pretty sure for the rest of the week, I am not going to see other news outlets report on Vice President Harris's positive approval rating, because it's not in their best interest. And so what I'm hoping is that after you send that email to Vice President Harris and her team, they realize that with all of the aspects of media that you're dominating and other networks that are out there. She needs to get out there and with Black media, and like you said, specifically Black-owned media. She has an open invitation. So why would you not get out there and speak? Why would you not get out there and, didn't Biden put you in charge of the voting rights stuff? Get out there and speak on it. No statements, on Twitter and so on and so forth. You are a powerful communicator. You always have been. And it is clear that there are so many of us who are willing to get out there and uplift you and who are out there defending you every single day. Get out there and give us more stuff to talk about, because we know what you're doing, but you got to let the world know too, and silence those haters. We know a lot of haters are going to hate anyway, but just get out there and speak the facts so we can get out there and buttress those facts with you as well.
Again, if you don't tell your story, Jeff, somebody else will.
Oh, of course, especially when you talk about politics. But it's the same with creativity and the arts. It's the same with media. If you don't tell people, somebody is going to stand up, and they're going to stand up strong, and they're going to stand up long, and they're going to make sure that they sing your song for you. So when we talk about how do we get this out here, you think about the concept of shaming versus gaming. So I think when you talk about Democrats, we spend a lot of time shaming when the Republicans are spending a lot of time gaming. And they recognize something very, very powerful about the psyche of the American people. And that is that perception is as real as reality, as long as you continue to drive the same message home. We have long seen the myth of meritocracy in America destroyed. We know that you can be mediocre and just have somebody who was a roommate with somebody's grandmother, and you're going to get a job if your skin is white in America. You work really, really hard, and you don't have that same connection when you're Black. Things are different, even if you have a ton of degrees. So we have to get to the point where, as you said, as everyone has said, to echo what everyone has said, we're absolutely right. It seems as if we should be invited in, or the White House staff should just tune in to RMU every night and listen to us and watch the chat screen, and you would solve 90% of America's problems with just plain common sense. But when you talk about how to get this message out here, you've got to make sure that you put people in a space where they can experience the authenticity. And one thing that you can say about Republicans, and you can say that about conservatives, you can say that about people who, whatever party they have, as we find ourselves at the crossroads where we really might see the possibility of white minority rule emerge tremendously in America, we got to start looking at how strongly they're putting out that message. And that message is an authentic message. We don't care about you. We want to preserve America. We want to make America great again. We want to make it so that we're on the Wheaties boxes and everybody else has a towel over their arm. We're going to say that honestly and boldly. And guess what? They're being authentic about that, and people are responding to that authenticity. On the other hand, we've got an accomplished person like Vice President Harris, who is out there getting taken down with words and images by people who are laser focused on tearing her down. So the White House has to respond, has to turn around, and the number one space you've got to do that is at home. We talk about that on this show all the time. We say, bring your eyeballs home. This is the space where you should be having a conversation directly with some of the greatest minds that have been assembled on this network, so that we can concentrically take that message out to let people know, I don't care what you've seen and what you've been convinced to believe, here's the absolute truth. And we're going to rock the world with this.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we are awaiting more breaking news. A jury has reached a decision in the trial of that fraudster Elizabeth Holmes, the company Thanos, where they had this so-called magical blood test that actually never even existed. So we're waiting to see what that decision is. Actually, she's been found guilty on 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy at her former blood testing startup Theranos. And so again, found guilty on 4 counts of criminal charges in her federal fraud case. Again, that jury decision is being read as we speak. And let's see here. Let me just see if any more information here. Let's see here. Again, it was financial fraud going on. And so we're waiting to hear more. Again, the decisions are being read like literally as we speak. But Elizabeth Holmes found guilty, four counts. All right, folks, let's talk about the story out of Louisiana. Remember we told you about that judge in Louisiana who was busted on video, her own home video, using the N-word. Roll the video, please. Y'all have it?
Oh, shit. The mom goes, why are the lights to your
When I
truck
pull
on?
up in the whip, they be saying, God
I'm like,
damn.
why are your lights on? They're like, pull up.
And mom's yelling, nigger! Nigger!
Oh, kid, we have a nigger. It's a nigger. Like a roach.
Look, oh, that's me.
No, that's
I
me
came
on
from the
that
backside.
side. Look, he trips over the
He trips twice. He trips twice.
I was the only one running.
That's me. Kenny was standing. I'm the one that took him down. Kenny's just standing there.
He lied. Found Austin's wallet.
Yeah.
That's my phone where it fell out.
Look, Mom. The dude had a phone on him. You should have taken his phone and stolen from him, that fucking asshole.
And now I'm going to grab a gun.
Go get the gun.
It's important. Very important.
As me and Austin maintain control of the situation.
The great thing is we've got video. We've got fuck. Look, they're with the car. Wait, look, there's
And look, here comes
there's
Rebel.
Want to play fetch? Rebel quickly like this is.
Lafayette City Court Judge Michelle Odinette says she takes full responsibility for her hurtful words. Now, remember, she first said she took a pill, and I just don't recall any of those things. I don't know what was being said. Yeah, you sounded like you were out of it. She's now out of a job. And, of course, they replaced her with a black judge. And I just keep saying, Avis, look, this nice little device right here is just gonna let all the races reveal themselves right here.
Sure does. I mean, but you know what's really interesting? I just want to know who leaked the video because
right.
I want to know who the hell did she piss off. That's the real thing we need to figure out. But the reality is here, though, that we got to look inside the sort of the quiet conversations that are had, not in public view. And the sad situation is, we know people are like this all over the place, but as a judge, you know, what sorts of things are going through her mind when she sees Black people in front of her? And this is why it was important for her to resign, because how could she move forward in credibility and say that she is an impartial judge, even when she's in her home using this? That's where she feels the most comfortable. So you know she's saying what she really thinks. But once again, it makes me wonder who the hell she pissed off. But somebody leaked that.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, and that's the thing. What this reveals, Omakongo, is what's going through your mind. That determines how your judicial rulings.
Absolutely. And look, I'm not a lawyer, but I've watched enough Law and Order episodes, you know, to know that when you get exposed in ways like this, all of your past stuff's got to get reviewed too. I mean, people need to be looking at this woman's record to see what patterns of bias have existed in her cases. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not just enough for her to resign. There need to be some other types of consequences, being disrobed or something. You can't do something that egregious, as Dr. Avis was saying, as a judge, and just walk away. It's not like you're just working at like CVS and somebody says something to you at the cash register and you start cursing them out. You are a judge who takes an oath to be impartial and all of that, and it clearly shows that you are a racist. So there needs to be a deeper investigation into her past cases to see where biases are. And to be quite honest, she should face penalties in terms of being disrobed and not have the opportunity to practice in any way, shape, or form. Because I don't know how it works with judges, but we see it with enough police officers who do something racist or do something extremely inappropriate and they resign and then they go right down the street and work somewhere else. Is she going to move to another county and be a judge there as well? That shouldn't be allowed. And I'm just glad that whoever she pissed off let the world know who she really is. So thank you.
Jeff is all about, again, snatching that law license. That's the key.
Well, that's the big key. And I triple down on what Dr. Avis and Brother Omakongo said. You also need to check your friend circle because, baby girl, somebody ratted you out badly. You must have done, I don't know what you did, but they put you out there. I'm kind of glad when I see incidents like this happen. Ice Cube had an album, Death Certificate, and one of the songs begins with, "Here's what they think about you. Here's what they think about you." Mm-hmm. It's good to know what people think. And it's good to catch them in spaces where they feel comfortable saying something. To the credit of the person who shared, they may very well be, not to presume too much, but they may be very well one of the white allies that we talk about. And we talk about, hey, what can we do behind closed doors? And one of the things that the late Dr. Francis Cress Welsing used to say is that if you're white and you want to help make a change, you've got to tell black people and other people what is said in the room when there are no other black people there. So if you're in there, you got to do that. So this may very well be a case of that. We also have to see what the real long-term consequence is going to be. It was brought up that you got to review her caseload. You got to look at her decisions. You got to see how race and sentencing could have been a very well a factor. It's got to hurt her in her pocketbook at some point. She's embarrassed. She's frustrated. She's used all of these terms, but she actually did it. Nobody takes a pill that makes them do something that egregious and that insane. I'm just saying, I hadn't seen a pill like that. I've seen a pill that make you sleepy. I've seen pills that make you honest. I've counseled people through situations where they had a little bit too much to drink and they said what was really on their mind because their prefrontal cortex had shut down. But the reality is that's a powerful pill. That's a pill called white supremacy, and there must be some secret underground where that thing is being manufactured and dropped in drinks with 200 million people at a time. I don't know what it is. The other thing that could happen is, I think about a year ago, there was a country singer named Morgan Wallen, and this issue happened here out of Nashville. He got caught on a security camera using the word. He was drunk and he was just going in. He got caught. The consequence for him was he had to apologize. He did an Instagram video. The record label did not fully drop him. They suspended him at the time. Country radio stopped playing all of his tunes, and there was a talk about giving $100,000, I think, to the NAACP. But guess what happened?
Yeah, there were like 8 groups he was supposed to give money to. I think Evans only gave 1. I think
he only gave 1, right? So we see this, but look at the other side. This wouldn't have hurt him because he was punished. His fans responded. So his digital album sales went up 1,220%, and his album sales went 327% in an increase just because of the incident. He had to get online and tell his fans to stop defending him. So this tells you about, when we talk about that term, we use that term, your vibe attracts your tribe. What do you do with the fallout that comes from other people who say, I'm just going to make sure before I put on my robe, that I'm going to check my squad to make sure nobody's recording this before I say what I truly say, before I go into that classroom.
Well, she gone. She gone. All right.
Roland, you could do some diversity training with her, brother. Shit, one-on-one.
Nah, hell no. She needed business from hashtag team. She needed business from hashtag team whip that ass. That's it. All right, y'all. Gotta go. I gotta go to a break. I'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
Hey, I'm Amber Stevens-West.
Yo, what up, y'all? This is Jay Ellis, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, after a months-long investigation, Virginia's Attorney General is suing a Virginia town for discriminatory practices that have taken place involving the town's law enforcement. Attorney General Mark Herring says that Windsor's police department operated in a way that led to discrimination against African Americans, violating their constitutional rights. The probe was prompted by a December 2020 traffic stop involving 2 Windsor Police Department officers and Caron Nazario, an Army lieutenant who is Black and Latino. 2 Windsor cops pulled him over, pepper sprayed him, and pointed their guns at the military officer. One of those officers did get fired for violating department policies. Guys, if y'all have that video, go ahead and roll it, please. We remember when this happened. It was a shocking.
Let me see your hands. How many occupants are in the vehicle?
What's going on?
How many occupants are in your vehicle?
It's only myself. Why are your weapons drawn? What's going on?
Open the door slowly and step out. Open the door.
I'm not getting out the vehicle. What's going on?
Get out the car. Open the door slowly and get out.
What's going on?
Get out of the car now. Open the door and get out the car. Hold. Keep your hands outside the window. Keep your hands outside the window.
My hands are right here. What's going on?
Get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
What's
now.
going on?
Get out of the car now. Get out of the car now.
I'm serving this country and this is how I'm treated?
Yo, guess what? I'm a veteran too. I'm going to obey.
Get
out of the car.
What's going on?
Get out of the car now.
What's going on?
What's going on? You're fixing to ride the lightning, son.
I'm sorry, what?
Get out of the car now.
What's going on?
Get out of the car now. Get out of the car. Sir, just get out of the car. Work with us and we'll talk to you. Get out the car. You received an order. Obey it.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I ask you what's going on?
Get out.
What's going on? What
did
I do?
Get out now.
I have not committed any crimes.
You're being stopped for a traffic violation. You're not cooperating at this point right now. You're under arrest
for a traffic.
You're being detained. Okay, you're being detained for
a traffic violation. I do not have to get out the vehicle. You haven't even told me why I'm being stopped.
Really?
Get your hands.
Get out of the car now. Get out of the car.
Get your hands off me, please. Get your hands off me.
You know what?
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. I didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Sir, get out of the car
Don't
now.
do that.
Hey, get
Don't
out of
do
the car
that.
now.
Don't do.
Look,
I'm trying to talk
get out.
to you.
Okay.
I'm trying to
I'm
talk.
gonna talk to you. Get out. Just get out of
Relax.
my car.
Can you please
Get out.
relax? Can
Get
you
out.
please relax?
Get out of the car right now.
Now y'all remember that was a video that he was recording from his car. This was the video that came from one of the body cameras as well, and you see them approaching the car. I remember this was crazy when this first happened, Davis. And the action should be taken against them by the Attorney General because what they did was unbelievable. And again, the guy was like, he was getting conflicting information. Show us your hands, but then open the door. He was like, what? I can't do all y'all keep saying. But this is the stuff that we talk about all the time, but these departments need to be held accountable.
They certainly do. And the thing that really strikes me is
Get your hands off me.
throughout that entire incident. And it's very interesting here that the only people that
get out of the car now.
The situation
Get out. Okay, I'm trying to get out.
Still have to train how to de-escalate situations. He was the only one who remained calm and in control of himself and was well communicative throughout the entire event. That shows a level of just plain, I don't even know, just maturity that those officers were incapable of. So absolutely, I'm hoping that everything is thrown at this town in terms of suing the town and figuring out what else can be done to make sure that not only those officers, pay the price. And I believe that they've been fired, at least one, as I recall. It's been a while since I've seen that in the news. But what are they doing now to make sure that those types of altercations aren't, repeated in the future? Because if you don't change whatever is going on in terms of their recruitment and their training, it's not just training. You can't make, diamonds out of stuff that's, So they have to make sure that they are recruiting the right type of person to give that type of power to. And then at the same time, they need to make sure that they're training them correctly. Because I am not sure that that same thing wouldn't happen again. Why wouldn't we think it would happen? It wouldn't happen again.
Talk about this absolutely crazy. When you see that, and Congo, this also goes to show why a George Floyd Justice Act is so important to get passed by Congress.
Absolutely. And this is also something that Vice President Harris can be out there speaking about, right? Because we need to have that legislation passed as well. One of the other things I remember about this case is that they tried to pull him over on a dark road, and he was the one who drove to that gas station so that he can have better lighting. And imagine if he didn't do that. I know that if I was in a situation I've been in situations like that, but I'm sitting here saying to myself, when I'm watching the video and they're saying open the door and at the same time keep your hands out where we can see them, imagine if he had turned to take off that seat belt and what they were waiting to light him up. They were waiting to light him up.
No. They actually said it. Yeah, you're gonna feel the lightning.
Feel the lightning.
Yeah, exactly. So they were looking for any reason, and like Dr. Davis said, we have to be the ones to diffuse these situations. And this ties into our last segment with the judge. Like we said, where are those officers now? The one that got fired, the other one who may have got disciplined in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's great that the Attorney General has filed this lawsuit. We need to see some real consequences, some real financial consequences. We need to see some people really lose their job and not be able to go down the street and get hired again. And like you said, Roland Martin, if we had that George Floyd Policing Act, there would be a registry so these guys can't just hop from county to county and do the same thing to us.
Jeff?
Yeah, sure. First off, I always try to tell people, my kids ask me, what am I afraid of? I usually just say I'm afraid of underachievement, or I'm afraid of not doing the best that I could do in life, and instead of circumstances and situations. But when I hear that tape and those words come into my ears, I get fear too. I get that understanding out of an empathetic space. Many of us have been in that space before. So I first want to congratulate Lieutenant Nazario for being the one who was de-escalating. That was a unique situation. You have an officer screaming at you 5 or 6 different things at the same time, also promising that you're going to feel the lightning. You heard that. When situations like this, they rarely test the officers to see what they're dealing with and whether they're under the influence, because all I heard from that officer was continual slurred speech. Everything that he was saying was slurred. I would have been terrified too. I would have been concerned too. I don't know if I would have kept it as calm. I don't know if any of us could have kept it as calm as Lieutenant Nazario did. Maybe that's a testament to his military background too, because even when he told them and acknowledged that they were afraid, that he was afraid, they said, "quote You should be." When you face that, when somebody tells you, when somebody has the gun on you, and you're staring down the barrel of the gun. I don't know how many of you have had that experience of staring down a barrel of a gun. I have personally. There's nothing like that. And when somebody is expressing intent to light you up, to stay calm like that, we've got to give him his kudos. I think the Attorney General is right for bringing this suit against the town of Windsor. They're asking for some very concrete things. They're asking for a court order that will make sure that they follow the rules that they're supposed to follow, not just with the Constitution, but with any federal act that is going to get passed in any time, any period coming soon. They're asking for third-party supervision of this department that is also paid at the expense of department. When we talk about oversight committees and police oversight, we can see that those institutions can often be corrupted by particularly police unions. So to have a third party that is disattached could actually bring about some justice. And the last thing I think they're asking for is a $50,000 fine for each count of discrimination that they find with the police department going forward. Because while blacks and Latinos are the minority in that town, over 40% of them constitute the traffic stops. So there is hard evidence to show that something is wrong there. And I hope that it gets corrected with the suit that's on the table right now.
All right, folks. So speaking of a lawsuit, you've got New York Attorney General Letitia James, who has issued subpoenas for two of Donald Trump's children to testify in the civil investigation. But Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka were like, nah, we ain't answering no questions about their father's real estate company. Lawyers for Trump's family, they're blocking James from speaking with their clients. And last month, Trump sued James in their civil probe, trying to get it stopped. They accused the New York Attorney General of participating in partisan politics. I know it's a civil trial. I say arrest their asses. I'm so sick of these grifters. I'm so sick of these grifters. All of them. Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Erica Trump, they grifting daddy, all of them.
Absolutely, man. And look, we see all this talk about, the insurrection and how, Trump could come back into office. And I keep saying, what's going on of all of these New York investigations? There's civil investigations, right. There's criminal ones. I mean, all of the things that they've did, money laundering, like all of these things, and nothing is happening. And I'm like, yo, if they could just expedite those joints, we wouldn't have to worry about Trump in 2024. And I'm just saying, it's just when these guys will continually obstruct justice in every way, shape, or form, whether it's relating to the company, whether it's relating to how much they knew about what was going on with the insurrection, they cannot keep getting away with this. And I so much applaud Sister James for everything that she's doing. And yes, I know they can't report every single step of these investigations to us, but really at the end of the day, these guys have been doing this for decades. It's not like it's brand new. And folks in New York have always known what's going on. Well, what was it, the former mayor who said, I know a con when I see one? They got all of this stuff, man. And so, yeah, I guess justice is supposed to move in the proper way, not be expedited. But these guys are corrupt in every way, shape, or form. And Ivanka and Jared, her husband Jared, tried to play it off by looking all calm and not being all boisterous like Don Jr. and they're like, but they're all the same, man. It's a criminal enterprise, and they need to be held accountable civilly as well as criminally. So I'm hoping that this moves a little bit faster in 2022.
Absolutely. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. Our Fit Live Win segment with the Diet Doctor, Dr. Terry Starks. He says, look, forget everything that you hear. You want to lose weight, you've got to eat 5 times a day. And he said, forget all that crap, not eating after 8 p.m. He said, no, the key is getting your five meals in. He'll explain next. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Our first show of 2022. Back in a moment.
supplement have always been essential. So now how are you gonna pay us like that?
And it's not just the salary. I mean, there are a whole number of issues that have to support us as women.
Yeah, but that's what we deserve. We shouldn't have to beg anybody for that. And I think that we are trying to do our best as a generation to honor the fact that we didn't come here alone and we didn't come here by accident.
I always say every generation has to define for itself what it means to move the needle forward.
I'm Angie Stone.
Hi, I'm Teresa Griffin.
Oh, Roland. Hey, Roland. I am so disappointed that you are not here, first of all. Where's our dance? It's like we get a dance in every time I see you. And so now you're not here for me to dance with, sir. You and your ascot. I need it. I need that in my life right now. Okay, I love you, Roland.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, it is January 3rd, first show of the year. And of course, as always, folks, they want to start anew. They got resolutions. They're trying to change what to eat. They're trying to change workout, all kind of different stuff. And my next guest says, he said, look, y'all want to lose weight? I'm trying to tell y'all. He said, you got to get the 5 meals in if you want to lose weight. But that's counter to what a lot of other people say. Joining us right now is Terry Starks, the Diet Doctor. Terry, glad to have you on the show. So first off, why are you so adamant? Explain why are you so adamant about the 5 meal that you got to get all 5 in.
All right, so I'll give you an example, Roland. The human body is like a fireplace. Once you've got logs in the fireplace, that fire is up, it's blazing. That room is warm. As the fire starts to die down, well, what do you have to do next? Well, you've got to throw more logs into that fireplace. Here comes that fire. Now that room is nice and warm again. Around that 2.5 hour mark, 3 hour mark, the fire starts to die down. You've got to throw more logs into the fireplace. The human body is the same way, the same exact way. You feed the body a small meal, give that meal, 2.5 hours, enough time to digest, and then you have to fuel the body with another small meal. Give it 2.5 hours, a little bit more time to digest. So at that 3 hour mark, you fuel it with another small meal. This is how you speed up the metabolism. I know this sounds weird, but mostly people weren't struggling with weight loss because they're overeating. 85% of them aren't eating enough. I'm helping.
Now, that's interesting. That's interesting you say not eating enough. Because you have others who say, oh, if you do 3 meals and now one of the things I kept hearing all in 2021, intermittent fasting and all sort of stuff like that. Whereas your deal is, look, if you want to take the weight off, it's the time frame, and you also say stop with all this. Don't eat after 7 or 8 o'clock. Right. It's really based upon your own schedule, your lifestyle.
Exactly. So, for an example, 30% of my clients that are really dropping 2-3 dress sizes in 35 days, they work the 3rd shift. I'll get a call from nurse practitioners, even physicians, like, well, Terry Starks, how is it you've got men and women eating at midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and their bodies are changing drastically? I'm like, well, they work the 3rd shift. He said, but we thought you got to stop eating after 3 and starve yourself for the rest of the day. That's absolutely false. My clients that work overnight, they're up eating, and generally they're sleeping during the day. The body doesn't really tell time. It just wants to be fueled. And again, Roland, I want to say this. I'm 50 years old. I've been maintaining my weight loss since 1988. Make sure, can you hear me, Roland?
Yeah, we can hear you. Now, Terry doesn't post a lot of photos of him on social. This is a photo he posted from October. And so just so y'all might be thinking, man, well, you know, what does this guy look like? Well, that's what it looks like. Go ahead, Terry.
Right. Thanks, Roland. Yeah. So it's just, I'm more into a healthy lifestyle change. Once you do the program and you reach your desired look or clothing size, I have an 85-15 rule. So I always explain to my clients, like, well, what about maintaining the weight loss? Well, that's the easy part. I've been maintaining my weight loss for 33 years. I never said you wouldn't have ice cream, cookies, and cake. Let me get this weight off you first so you can enjoy ice cream, cookies, and cake, of course, in moderation.
So the thing is, and so like here's a photo of a brother you work with, you had posted on social media, and one of the things that you do, you want your folks taking photos shirt off and shirt on, because what you focus on is how do your clothes fit. You're not fixated on the scale.
Exactly.
Explain
I'm
that.
more interested in the image in the mirror and not numbers on the scale. Nobody would know what you weigh unless you tell them. And honestly, Roland, we're not judged based off of what we weigh. We're judged based off of how we look. My job is to make sure you look amazing. Once we're finished, well, whatever you happen to weigh is what you weigh. It is what it is. To God be the glory. But I guarantee you, you will look phenomenal. That's the key.
You know, one of the things that when I was late last year working out, losing weight, and folks were like, oh my God, I mean, you lost so much weight. Really, it wasn't, you know, it was, people kept saying, man, you gotta be exercising. We've had numerous people on the show. You're not losing weight because of exercise. You're losing it because of your diet. And I think the first week working with you, I think I lost either 9 or 11 pounds that week. And the thing that was weird about it, because you also make it clear you got to drink lots of water as well. That by measuring, you know, by measuring the food in terms of ounces, the vegetables and the chicken, whatever, and eating every 3 hours, it didn't give me these long gaps of 6-8 hours where, oh my God, I'm really, really hungry. And that to me, so it wasn't like I was starving. I was replenishing myself, so I was always full, versus before I would have these long stretches of working and going, and then all of a sudden I may not eat for 9 hours, and then now it's like, man, you want to devour everything in front of you. Exactly.
So that's going back to that fireplace mentality. I like to keep fueling the body, you know, and you can't eat 5 humongous meals in a day. That's impossible. Your stomach ain't that big. But you definitely can eat 5 tiny meals. And it's all about portion control. You know, another thing too, I teach my clients, focus on yourself. Everyone's body is different, and therefore the journey may be a little bit different. A lot of people get discouraged because they're seeing somebody else lose weight faster than them. And it's okay. It may take you a little bit longer to get the weight off. You're still going to get it off. There's a lot of variables we have to take into consideration. Health complications, age, you know, there's a lot of things that can slow the process down. But the way the human body works, if you're fueling the body, clean, healthy meals, if you're doing something to stay active, the human body is forced to slowly transform. It's a scientific guarantee.
Questions from my panelists. I'll start first with Omakongo.
Can I borrow an ab or like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying it help a brother out this new year.
Well, listen. Here's the thing: you have a nice six pack. You've got a layer of fat covering it up. We'll just strip the fat off you so you can show your abs. Everybody has abs. Everybody has it.
So to that end, what my question would be for people, we understand when you talk about like not making New Year's resolutions, it's about the lifestyle.
Yes.
But when you talk about what are some of the types of food that you feel your clients start to stop eating first in order to get them on their path? Is it more sugar stuff, more sodium? What are some of the things that get them started on the right path of meeting these goals?
Well, the first thing, I do like to eliminate a lot of the sugar out of my diet and a lot of the sodium out of the diet first. But it's all mental when it comes to the weight loss. Let me give you a great example. When it comes to hot wings, there's a lot of different hot wings. There's mild wings, barbecue wings, there's hot wings, there's Thai wings, there's lemon pepper wings. Even when it comes to eating unhealthy, there's a huge variety. So you have to have that same mindset when it comes to eating healthy. So on my fish weeks, well, there's a ton of different ways I prepare my fish. I'll use the oven. I use my air fryer. I'm old school. I still have my George Foreman grill. I use my outdoors grill. I use the stovetop. It's all about being creative. And I get it. Eating healthy can be redundant at times, but I don't eat food because of the taste. I eat for the beneficial factors. I eat for, having perfect health and looking good and feeling good. We just have to be a little bit more creative when we're making the healthy choices. That's the key.
I'm going to go to Avis.
Hi there. So in terms of making that mental shift that you spoke about, what do you think is one of the things, the tips that you can give people in terms of getting them out of the habits that they have sort of ingrained in their lifestyles for potentially decades before they met you? I think.
Well, the first thing, we have to be patient.
Yeah.
The second thing, you have to look in the mirror. The scale can say whatever it wants, but honey, the mirror always tells the truth. That mirror won't lie. It's just being patient and being consistent. All I'm doing, if I'm even doing anything different, with all the people that I'm transforming, first of all, I'm holding them accountable, and I'm teaching them how to compete against themselves. Compete against the person in the mirror. That's it. And that's what everybody's doing. That's why the weight is coming off. That's why the inches are melting. That's, she only lost, that's one of my sister Greeks of Sigma Gamma Rho. She only lost, 12 pounds in 35 days. But how does she look? She only lost 12 pounds. Mm-hmm. The mirror never lies. The scale can say whatever it wants. The mirror says she looks great.
Jeff.
Yeah, first off, Dr. Starks, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Obviously, you're living and walking in your divine purpose, and that's what we need more of all around the board. What I found, I know that the 5 meals a day works because of the stimulation of the metabolism, and it's a consistent thing. And if we don't eat, we starve ourselves, and our bodies end up storing fat because they think it needs the energy. That hurts us in the long term. But the 6 most dangerous words that I've encountered with people, I ain't got time for that.
Right.
So when you hear that, I know you've heard that a lot, but for people who are watching or who may be thinking, I want to do something to not only lose the weight, but I want to be able to keep the weight off and build a lifestyle of consistency. So for people out there who are looking at building something that's sustainable, what tips do you have to give to people who want to get started and be able to create a diet that lasts, especially if they have to also prepare for their family and kids?
Well, so when I put new clients on my program, the first thing I explain to them is, listen, everybody in the household can benefit from healthy eating.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can benefit from healthy eating. I just signed up a housewife, she's a size 18. I guarantee you I'll get her down to a 14 in 35 days. Guaranteed. That goes without saying. Her husband is like, well, I want to lose weight too.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, well, listen, if you eat with your wife, you're going to slowly lose. He said, well, no. I want to do more than lose weight. I want a six-pack. I said, okay, well, I have to create something specifically for you. Now you're speaking my language. He's like, no, I want the abs to pop. But as far as in the household, everybody should be eating healthy in the household.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be eating healthy. And that's always been my number one rule. It just depends on what a person's goals are. You have to figure out, what motivates you. For me, I lost 9 family members because of poor eating habits growing up. Mm. That was my motivation. I'm trying to be around so I can live to see my kids. That's the game plan. And this is why I make the healthy choices.
That's great.
All right. Terry, how can folks reach you?
They can reach me on Instagram, Terry Starks, the Diet Doctor. I've got 2 Facebook pages. If you just search for Terry Starks, you'll see thousands of transformations. Just, inbox me or my email. I'm old school rolling. TerryStarks1@AOL.com. Just let me know you're ready for your transformation, and let's make sure you're the best version of yourself. That's what we do.
All right then, folks. So that's it. So you know how to reach him. Terry, thank you so very much.
I appreciate you, Roland. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, folks. Of course, this is we're already just 3 days into 2022, and we've lost some great ones already. First off, Nick Coleon, the smooth jazz guitarist. He had 5 #1 singles from his album. He was, of course, a native of Chicago. Mitchell Chu. Last living parent of the 4 girls who were killed in the Birmingham bomb. Maxine McNair's daughter. First of all, Maxine McNair was 93 years old, passed away in Birmingham. Her daughter, Carol Denise McNair, was 11 years old when a KKK member placed a bomb at the 16th Street Baptist Church that killed her and 3 other girls. Maxine McNair was a school teacher for 33 years in the Birmingham public school system. And she passes away at the age of 93. And so we certainly mourn her loss as well. And then also, he starred in the Max Julian, passed away on New Year's Day, his birthday. And all the reporters keep saying he was 88, but he was born in 45, according to the report. So that means he was actually 77. Mm-hmm. But Max Julian was a screenwriter. He was also, again, like I say, he starred in the Mac. So many people remember that film and so many others. And so we lost some great ones already. So we mourn the passing of Maxine McNair, Nick Coleon, as well as Max Julian. I want to thank Greg Avis and Omakongo for being on today's show. We ended last week's show.
Jeff Rowland. Jeff.
We ended last. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. See,
hey man, that's all right.
So we ended the show Thursday, showing you folks who we lost in 2021. There was some we some we left off, and so we wanted to show you a complete memoriam in today's show with that, and so we'll do so. So we'll see you guys tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.